Cadwell Park, probably one of the most technical and challenging circuits in the UK. Now, it was built in 1932 and completely remapped in 1962 and earned the nickname the Mini Nürburgring. Now, we're here today to take part in a track day, which basically gives guys the experience of high-powered machines but in a very safe and controlled environment. Our host for today is TrackSense. They've been doing this for about 5 years, very experienced, and the day starts with a briefing. Let's go and find out what they've got to say.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Cadwell. I'm just going to tell you how we're going to run the day here today.
At this type of event, it brings together riders of different abilities, and the most important aspect is safety.
The instructors wear
The briefings are used to advise all riders of how to get the best out of their day. Track days give riders the chance of using their own bikes to improve skills, not necessarily to use on the road, but to build confidence and control of their machines. I was fortunate enough to have my own personal instructor, Ian Cobby.
Now, Cobby's been racing for 13 years on the British and international circuit, so he's got a fantastic pedigree. And I'm going to pick his brains today to find out just as much as I possibly can. Cobby, this is obviously the bike I'm going to be riding today. Is it different from standard?
It's basically a Suzuki GSX-R 600, which is a road bike. It differs very slightly. It's got fiberglass bodywork. It's got a different exhaust cam, which is not for road use, just so it sounds a bit fruitier. Sticky tyres, which are like fast road riding or track tyres, and that's it, basically it's standard.
Now, for me personally, obviously, you're going to guide me through and we're hopefully going to improve the speed, and you're going to be able to give me tips on where I can improve speed-wise on the circuit. Is that sort of how for me the day will go as well?
You're going to get tips on everything from your lines entering a corner, exiting a corner. How you sit on the bike makes a big difference. Tucked in, elbows in, toes turned in. You know, trying to make yourself as small as possible. The smaller the frontal area of the bike, the faster it's going to go. We can move on from that to looking where you're going to overtake people. You know, how one corner, the exit of one corner leads on to the entry of another, and how you have to be smooth really. To go fast on track, you have to be very smooth.
Great. Well, we're all kitted, so should we go and have a go and see what I can end up doing on the bike?
Right. Okay.
Lovely.
For training purposes, we fitted onboard cameras to the bikes to enable us to analyse my performance. Cobby's on bike number 2, and I was in hot pursuit of bike number 1.
Cobby, can you talk me through it?
Yeah, sure. Right, here we are. This is the first lap proper. The tyres are warm and we're getting into it now. Into Hall Bends here, what we need to do is clip every curb through here to have as straight a line as we can through there. You're just missing that one, which is bringing you out in the wrong spot really, over the rise. Top hairpin. Little bit wide perhaps turning in a little bit late there, which affects your drive on the way out. It means you can't get the power on quite as early as if you turned in a bit earlier. Barn, we're on barn now, onto the bottom straight. You're starting to rev the bike a bit, but you really need to scream it a bit more. As we're looking at the picture now, right on the left hand side, good line going into Copies. Perhaps you slowed down a lot there. I think you might have had a big dab of brake. Really, the gravity of the hill, because it's a big hill going up, would have slowed the bike enough. You basically need to hang out very wide all the way into Charlie's 1 and Charlie's 2. It's a strange turn because you can't see the apex till you're already on it. So it's just about confidence and a bit more experience on the track. The line coming into park turns great here in exactly the right spot. You do leave yourself open to people stuffing up the inside. But that's the difference between riding defensively to protect your position or just riding a fast, smooth lap. Approaching the gooseneck, which is a tricky turn. The entrance is quite good. You're in just about the right spot here. You just missed the clipping point there and there, which brings you out in the wrong spot here. You need to be using a lot more of the track on the way down there. Heavy on the brakes, down a few gears into Mansfield. Again, just clip in there, but not using enough of the track on the way out. There's a good metre or so there you could have used. you need to come back over to the left-hand side as soon as you can through that point. So you're in the right line to go the mountain. So here we are, another line. Yeah.
What happens now, Cobby? I've got somebody who's now on my line. I mean, what should I be doing? I mean, I know it's a track day, but what's the best way?
Well, that guy, he was a fair bit slower than you. He did leave a big gap, and you had to go offline to pass him. It's track day, it isn't a race. Everyone's paid their money to have their own track time. So how they get the best of it is down to them. You don't really want to be cutting people up and scraping their paint and stuff.
And it's a very technical track, isn't it? I mean, it seems on every single corner, there's always things that you have to look out for.
It is a very technical track. It's very narrow as well, so you have to be fully committed to an overtaking move. It's undulating, there's lots of features, so it's easy, although it's long, it's easy to learn because it's got plenty of features. A featureless track which is completely flat. It's very hard to find your way around.
Now, Cobby, we've watched the video, we've picked a few hints from that. What's the next thing for me then? How do I progress?
I think what we need to do now is look at your body language and your body weight on the bike, the way you steer, the way you sit on the bike. Put your toes onto the foot pegs and turn your toes slightly inwards.
Inwards?
Yeah, so they're not pointing out into the wind.
Right, okay.
Okay, and you've got your elbows tight against the tank. That's a much better stance. Brilliant.
Feels very peculiar.
It's not a natural thing, but
yeah.
You know, if you ride on the road, it's not how you'd be, but that's how you need to be, really. And then when you're sitting up for a corner, you can straighten your arms. Your body's acting against the wind as well, which helps you slow down. And then you can start moving about on the side of the bike.
Now, Cobby, watching the video, I felt like I was actually getting myself off the bike a lot, but I'm not, obviously.
You need to get your weight off a lot more. Let's get back in that position. And you're going to go into a left-hand turn. What sort of position are you going to be in?
Well, probably that to me felt quite committed.
Right, now you're going to need to move much more than that. You need to move your bum and your bottom of your back right off, and some more, okay? Now, as you're doing that, I want you to put your weight into the tank as
like
well.
This.
Okay?
Yeah.
Then you're getting some more weight over the front wheel.
Right.
Okay, so you're nearly there now. Bit lower perhaps. And then just open your leg to get your knee out. Okay, now if the bike was tipped over now, you'd be in that perfect position. It's on the stand, it's not bad. Let's put all these things into practice. We've looked at the lines and you'd be arriving at the corners faster. Now you've got the body positioning right to go round the corners faster. So we should be a lot quicker.
I'm knackered. I need to go and recharge my batteries. So just while I do that, let's pop over and see what Don's speeding on this week.
This is a 1950s Vincent 1000cc v0n. It was in its day advertised as the fastest standard road bike. It was the super bike of its day, and it is still a super bike. This machine was produced after World War II and was extremely successful in competition, in sprints and hill climbs, but above all it was known as a sports tourer, very long distance bike, and a bike which had won world speed records. Tuned with dope, it would exceed 200 miles per hour because the engine was so exceptional. It was a very famous bike in its day, and it still is. Well, the engineers at Stevenage who made these machines did so to a very high specification and with considerable innovation. Just look at some of the features. We've got rear cantilever monoshock suspension. At the same time, has twin brakes on both wheels. 4 brakes on a motorcycle in the 1950s was really something, and they are real stoppers. When you look at the engine, it's massive. There's no frame, and that's because the engine acts as the frame. It's a fully stressed hunk of metal. It's possible to remove the back wheel without any tools, no spanners, everything with thumb screws in less than 5 minutes. The controls, all of the controls are adjustable, so that the owner can adjust everything to suit his own particular physique. An amazing motorcycle in many ways, and in many ways way ahead of its time. When you ride this bike, you have to keep reminding yourself that it's half a century old. That's the most amazing thing, because it performs really almost like a modern machine. Above all, you feel superior on it in a way. It's a majestic sort of ride. It is a feeling of riding one of the best motorcycles that's ever been made and enjoying this type of power delivery which has now disappeared. That is low revs and yet a lot of pull. It will pull away and just drag you up into the 80s, 90s, 100s effortlessly, and still seem that it's not really trying very hard. In the 50s, it was just so much faster than almost any other machine on the road, and it certainly was the fastest production motorcycle. 125 miles an hour. I mean, that was incredible. It was the bike to have. When one went past, you said, "Cool, there's a Vincent." And that's about the biggest accolade you can give. The designers at Vincent set out to produce the best bike in the world, and looking back to the 50s, they probably did just that. It is just such a beautiful motorcycle in every sense. You can understand why so many people, even today, are Vincent enthusiasts, and why it's an icon of motorcycling.
Tony, why have track days suddenly had this increase in their popularity?
It's a case of a couple of different things. Firstly, motorcycling has become very fashionable, shall we say, in recent years. That, combined with the fact that to ride fast on the road is becoming not only politically unacceptable, but just plain dangerous. And of course, the police are ever more vigilant with speed cameras and more strict punishment for dangerous riding. And if you have a fast sports bike, you simply can't ride it fast on the road anymore. To get anything like the best from the bike, you've simply got to bring it to a circuit like this.
What improvements do you see in riders when they've done track days? What do they actually get from it?
A big grin on their face, generally, without exception. There's not many people who do a day and don't go home smiling. The trouble with riding on the road is because you don't know what's around the next corner, oil, lamppost, tractor, you just can't commit yourself. On a circuit, everything's going the same way. You can concentrate on your riding and commit yourself. So they get lots from it. They get more corner speed. They actually understand how late it's possible to brake on a motorcycle, just improved bike control, smoothness, reading a corner, and understanding the true potential of some of these modern machines. They don't really understand how much grip and how good these bikes are until they ride on the circuit.
Don, what actually brings you to track days?
The adrenaline, the rush. Every time you go out, there's an apprehension. You start to build on what you know your mistakes, and you start to build on that. And the sense of satisfaction, the adrenaline, everything about it. When I've finished here today, I'll be high as a kite and absolutely dead on my feet. And so there's just no better feeling. Not legal anyway.
What do you gain from it what's the buzz that you get when you come and do it?
I think it gives you the opportunity to go round the same corner a number of times, and that gives you the chance to gradually push it to the limit and find out where it is in relative safety.
And so I suppose you're learning the circuit then as you go along, so you're just getting better and better each time.
That's it. And on the road you go around a corner, you either think, you know, that was a bit hairy, that was too fast, or I could have gone quicker, and that's it, the corner's behind you then, whereas on the track you get, you know, 10 laps at a time to get it right, really.
Suspension, always been a mystery to me, but I've come over to Maxton Engineering just to find out a little bit more about it. Well, how long's Maxton been formed as a company?
Well, it started in 1971, so that makes us 30 years old. I was interested in shock absorbers and the design of shock absorbers. I worked for a company that was racing cars, and they asked me to make a shock dyno, which is a method of checking the performance of the shock absorber.
And once you've designed something like this for a bike run, how do you then test it? What's the best way of testing it?
The best way to test it is to race your product against somebody else's product. And in yourself you can learn all sorts of things, but you can also satisfy yourself that you're keeping up with the general standards and hopefully slightly better.
And I suppose you get a lot of feedback from the racers then to say how things are, how the bike's working on the tracks, is it? You
get a lot of feedback. Riders generally don't tell you what to change in the shock absorber, they tell you what happens to the bike. And you've got to work out what changes you have to make to the shock absorber, externally and internally.
Richard, you're an integral part of the Maxton company. Regarding suspension on my bike, I'm very apprehensive to fiddle with it because I don't really know what the changes do. Can you sort of give me a couple of hints on what I should be looking for?
Yeah, I mean, one of the first things you should check really is the wheel alignment on the bike, because every time you take the back wheel in and out of the bike, you've got to make sure that it's in line with the front wheel. A lot of people use the marks on the chain adjuster, but a lot of the times they are actually out. The next stage really is to look at your settings on the bike, which I've got a front fork off, not off this bike obviously, but and the adjustments you've got really on the front forks are rebound damping adjustments. The blue adjuster is actually the preload adjustment, and the compression damping adjustment here is at the bottom of the fork. And the most important adjuster really to start off with is the preload, which really sets the sag in the bike.
Well, what we're actually going to do now is we're going to test the front end for sag.
The way to do it really is to stand the bike on its wheels again, grab the front brake and just again find the bike settling point, push it up and down, and then just sort of let go and let the bike now settle. And this now is its settling point. If we draw a line with a marker pen on the chrome stanchion,
which I cunningly have here, and then from that you then pull up the bike just to see.
That's right, just grab the front brake and lift the sag or the free play out of the forks.
And again, what's the sort of measurement? What are we looking for here?
Well, you're looking, it is a lot more on the front. You're looking between sort of 20 and 30 mil depending on the bike.
Why is that?
Well, on a bike with flat bars, you tend to your body acts as a sail, and when you accelerate, you pull on the bars and you yourself lift the front of the bike up because the force of the wind on yourself lifts the bike up.
What sort of impact would rebound give on the rear of a bike?
Well, the rebound on the rear, again, controls the extension of the shock absorber or the back of the bike. And if you didn't have enough rebound, as you brake at the front and all the weight shoots towards the front of the bike, the back of the bike will leave the ground, it will lift because it will spring back too quickly. On the other side of the coin, if you had too much rebound damping, the bike would pack down at the back. It would be too slow to return, so it would be constantly just going down and down over the bumps. It would never recover fully for the next bump.
Well, Richard, last in the list is compression. How does that actually work?
Well, compression really, front and back, gives you the feel, and if you have too much compression damping, the bike will feel very hard and harsh and very uncomfortable, not very compliant at all. If you don't really have enough compression, the bike can feel a bit wallowy and it'll maybe feel a bit soft and vague really. You haven't got the confidence in the machine that you should have.
Well, we're watching the tapes back after the second session. Cobby, that was absolutely fantastic. I really did enjoy that. Now you're sort of watching, what do you think? It feels like I've improved.
You've improved loads from the first session this morning. We're about 6 to 7 seconds faster than we were this morning, with a lot less effort physically for the cells. It's coming more naturally now, so we can start going faster. You're using a lot more of the track in the corners, which you need to do to carry more speed. As we can see here, you're getting your knee out now. Your body weight shifted off the side of the bike, which is good, but you could be lower in your body yourself. You're very upright in the corners. You've just missed that apex there. You're just going to miss it again there, about a metre. It's not much, but it all adds up, you know. That last corner, if you went through there faster, carried more speed, you'd arrive at the next series of corners faster.
Sure. I tell you, I'm finding obviously that you've given me so much information, which is absolutely invaluable. I pick up suddenly as I'm driving, I pick a little bit, and then you go a little bit further, and you work on a little bit something else. I suppose it is just time then, isn't it? Just to keep doing it.
It is time, and it's practice. You know, if you're on the track all week, you'd be great by the end of it. You've got a day to do it today, so you're going to try and learn as much as you can in one day.
Well, there you have it, track days. One of my personal favourites, actually, to be honest. I did come here this morning with just a slight bit of anxiety, but with Cobby's help, he showed me how to ride a motorcycle a lot quicker, but with safety in mind. And I'll definitely be back to do this again.